Hi, this is 365801 and this is another trying to find a new hobby whilst I review some manga. So today's hobby is going to be jigsaw puzzles. I'm going to start this. We're going to give it a go anyway. We're going to do this for maybe an hour just to have a bit of relaxing time. I found this from the charity shop because I don't want to spend a lot of money on things or, contribute by buying brand new when there are plenty of things that I might like. And I found this in the charity shop for £3. And someone has tried it in February 2024, so it is complete. So I should have all of the pieces. And this is an M&S jigsaw puzzle of 500 pieces. And I didn't know M&S did jigsaw puzzles, but it might be the best M&S. This isn't just any old jigsaw puzzle. This is an M&S jigsaw puzzle. If you're from the UK, you know what that means. But yeah, I bought this one because it looks just great and it's got all these British flowers in. And I have a patch in my garden that I want to start growing herbs and flowers and vegetables and do my little cottagecore, and that might be a video in the future of trying a new hobby because I do have a patch now with a lovely garden I want to grow some things in, so that might be the next hobby I try, or it might be one for the summer. And then I can review some manga while doing a different hobby. So this one is just a relaxing one. I'm gonna get a nice hot drink. I do have some snacks, so I might have some snacks and just do some puzzles and talk about some manga at the same time. So yeah, let's get this opened. So once again, we'll see how this turns out as a video concept. I really enjoyed doing the first one because it was crafty, whereas this one's a bit more of a relaxation one. I have done a few jigsaws. I bought a couple and I took them with me when it was Christmas time and I went to stay with some family, so we did it as a family, which was great. There we go, we've got it open. And I sometimes do it online when I'm not when it's like an audiobook and I'm listening to an audiobook. Is that it? There we go. And so I do jigsaws at the same time. Oh, there we go. All the pieces. So yeah, hopefully I'll have all 500 and I've got a nice cream top so I can just keep it on here. But yeah, I'm going to get a warm drink and a snack ready and then we can start doing the jigsaw. So for snacks I've got a nice donut and a Twix. I don't know if I'll get around to eating these. I have like a pack of 4, so I do need to at some point. And then I've got my lovely little china set, and I've got some green tea. The tea bag's in there, it's going to steep for a bit. So we're going to leave that there. Take it out. So yeah, let's get this all emptied out and sorted through. And hopefully we've got all the pieces. So first things first, I'm going to just tip all of these out and get the edges. So I'm not even going to put the edges together, I'm just going to put the interior in here and get my edges out. Oh, there we go, edge number 1. So yeah, while I'm doing this, let's talk about another manga that I read that I got from NetGalley. So I read Number Call by Nagisa Furuya. This is actually her first ever published manga that was published back in 2014. So it's been 10 years for this to come out in English, which is not the longest we've waited for something, but I think with the success of some of her previous ones that have been published in English, we're getting a bit more of her work, which I'm really happy about because I really like Nagisa Furuya's work. And this is no exception. It's got the same kind of atmosphere. It's very much in the same vein as her previous works that have been published. And we follow two high school students who are in their final year of high school preparing for their exams, who happen to meet and have a connection because of their names. One of the boys is called Eito and the other one is called Hachi, but they're both nicknames, but their nicknames both mean 8 because Hachi is the Japanese for the number 8. Ooh. So they have this connection. They're in different tracks, one's science, one's humanities, but they end up bumping into each other, saying hi, and then end up developing a friendship, and then maybe even more possible feelings. And it's just that. It's very gentle, it's very simple, there's not a lot of drama, it's very very drama free, but it's still lovely and cute and sweet and just an easy read. I wouldn't say it was the most emotionally affecting because of that. It is just a very kind of easygoing type manga, but I like that about Nagisa Furia's work. It's easy to read, it's a good time, and I know I'm going to enjoy it. And it's the same art style, which I love already. So yeah, this is a great one I'll definitely have to pick up in physical when I can. It's definitely going on the list because it is a BL, and I'm very happy that I was able to get an advanced copy of it. So yeah, hopefully we'll get more Nagisa Furia from any publisher. But yeah, Kodansha's doing quite well with all of her works. So I also read Covenant, which is the first 18 chapters, I think, of the webcomic by Lysandra, if I'm getting this right, wrong. And this is by Oni Press. So it is a webcomic created into, so it's much more of like a graphic novel. It's very polished, it's very drawn, like computer kind of drawn. It has a very distinct kind of style. The character designs are very dynamic. And the story is interesting, but not 100% as engaging as I would have liked. It took me a while. I kept picking it up, putting it down, picking up, putting it down, until in the end it did get me, and I am very intrigued by now. But it was a bit of a struggle to start with because you're just kind of thrown into the story. And what is the story? Well, it's kind of like urban fantasy with religious elements. So priests or exorcists are tasked with getting rid of demons. So that's kind of the basic premise. But there are lots of different characters, churches against one another, so a bit of like political shenanigan type things. Lots of great demon characters just showing up and being demons, and different weapons and things like this. But we're just basically following one individual who is trying to find out why there are an increase of demon activity in their area, and also tasked with trying to protect this person who has moved into the area as well. So yeah, it's interesting. It was different. It kind of did feel a little bit like some of the things I've read before. I'm trying to think of, I think it was Hirotaka Kisaragi had one that had lots of angels and demons and stuff like that going on as well. So it has a feeling of familiarity, but also I feel like it's very distinct in its own thing. So yeah, Covenant. It has obviously a bit of queer romance, but slow burn. So it's not really, there's no real romance yet. So I'm assuming that there'll be a lot more in the next volumes. I haven't checked it out, the webcomic. I don't actually know where you can read it. But yeah, this would be one I'd look to see if I could pick up in a later date, but probably not a huge priority, as it's not manga, but it is webcomic, but it is queer, and it is interesting. So yeah, it's different. I'm not sure how much I liked it, but it was a great ending to that first volume, so chapter 18, which makes me want to read the rest. I read Confessions of a 35-Year-Old by Tay, and this is a story of two office workers, co-workers, who end up becoming roommates, and we follow a 35-year-old office worker, Jason. I really enjoyed this one. I liked how quiet and gentle this felt on the surface, but it actually felt more like the main characters were screaming out for connections. Jason is 35, he's single, and he's never been sexually active, so there were some strong asexuality vibes, which I loved. I feel like Jason was really exploring what different forms love can take and accepting that his may be his own in the face of societal pressure and expectations. His regrets have weighed him down, and he needs Frank to help exorcise his emotional demons. And in turn, Frank feels accepted and cared for by Jason. It just felt like such a sweet, caring kind of story, and I really appreciated the author's note at the end. I would like to read more from this author and more about these characters in general. Okay, so I have all of the interior pieces here, which I'll just put off to the side. And then here are all the edge pieces. And these are the four corners I'm really happy about. That looks like an ED. Yeah, it must be an ED. So I think this must be at the bottom. Not entirely sure where the other ones are. There you go. Ooh, does that look right? No, it doesn't. Let's get them all sorted out like this. So yeah, while I turn them all over and get them spread out, I'll talk about some more manga. Loving You When the World Ended by Jean, another Media Do International Yuzu Comics title about a post-apocalyptic event, and two strangers end up having to kind of navigate this world. This was supposed to be a comedy, but it wasn't laugh out loud funny, just sort of like mildly amusing for the setting. The artwork was very well done, as were the character designs, but the story and the romance was fairly shallow, and it was only just like okay, and I'm sure pretty fairly forgettable. Okay, so I've got them all like this, but quite a few of them have greenery and some of them have words. So I'm going to separate them into little groups as well and see if that will help. Now, I also read The Light Conjurer, another work by Jean, so another work by Media Do International or Yuzu Comics, and this time it's a magical fantasy adventure. We end up following Robin, who is a hapless 17-year-old conjurer languishing at the lowest wood level when he accidentally summons a boy prince, Kyle. The two end up on an adventure to defeat a dragon and uncover some secrets. And the artwork again is very competent, and the characters are fun and interesting. And the story twists were exciting and really kept me engaged. I'm now totally invested and I want to read the next volume. It didn't start off the best. I was like, oh, I'm not too sure about this one. Is this going to be, the same as the previous one? Am I not going to enjoy it as much? But it very quickly became a lot funnier and a lot more interesting when Kyle showed up. And yeah, the twists were really what made this much more interesting. It doesn't follow the usual fantasy adventure plot beats that you would think it would, which was why it was so much more engaging. So yeah, it was a lot better than the other one. I would recommend The Light Conjurer, and I do want to check out the volume 2 when it comes out. Okay, so here I've got some words. I've got poppy, and this is at the top. Mint, which is also at the bottom. And we got the corner, which said fireweed. And Chilodonium? Chilodionum? I don't know what flower that is. And then I've got this one piece that has a little bit, which looks like words, but nothing else matches with it. So yeah, mint, poppy, whatever that one is, and fireweed, which is the corner. What else I've done? I've got all of these, which have some green in them. I've got some pink and some purples, some red, or what might be, it looks like a strawberry or some sort of berry, but some red and pinks, some yellows, some more like fuchsias. Then we've got a whole load of bees, and I think one of the bees connects to this section of mint right here. And then some ones that are white or predominantly white with just a hint of something that is difficult to see. And then I've got the 3 corner pieces. So we're going to try and see if we can get get this square done. Here's the picture. It's always good to, let me just get that. Ugh, get the picture. So this is fireweed off to this side, this corner. And then whatever this plant is next to it is the Chilodonium? I don't know. And mint must be somewhere down the bottom as well, because it's along the bottom. But I don't know which one is supposed to be mint. This one at the end. So I think the corner might be near mint. So one of these corners might connect to mint, because I think this one at the end is mint. And you can see the little bees around the edge. But I don't think this is the full picture, because the bottom's cut off, because you don't see these words. So it's not even the full picture. I'm wondering if it's on the back of this box, which is now full of centerpieces. So yeah, you can see different colours though, which is quite handy. So like this one here looks like these ones. So I think that's on this edge here. And there's red. That does look like a berry though, doesn't it? I don't know. So yeah, let's try and get the edges all done. I think this will be quite good fun to try and do as well. And the sun is coming out a little bit, so it might be a little bit brighter. Okay, let's get this done. I read another BL, and that is The White and Blue Between Us by Hiko. And this is the story of Ishizaki, who is returning to the island that he grew up on to help his father with his shop. Why is it always that dads have bad backs and their sons have to return home to run the business? And they find love. That's basically it. It's always one of those ones that have the childhood friends to lovers tropes, because there's someone there and that they end up meeting up with again. And this is no exception. Ishizaki returns home. He goes to a high school reunion, hoping to see Mishima, who was not only his best friend in high school, but his boyfriend, who he broke up with and broke his heart. So he wants to apologize. He's looking to reconnect, say sorry, but maybe even become friends or more again. And he finds out that Mishima is a shut-in and works at the lighthouse and just stays there and doesn't interact with anyone else. So he really makes it his mission to go out of his way to find him and try and reconnect. And he doesn't do a very good job of it. Not at first, but eventually wears him out down. This was good. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't great. It did also have a few tropes and things that I didn't particularly enjoy. But there was a general sense of summer, and this is definitely one that I'd put in the BL set in summer or has summer vibes. So a bit like Seaside Stranger or My Summer of You. Um, they the art style as well with Seaside Stranger and um has a very similar style to this one as well. So I think if you enjoy Seaside Stranger, you'll probably enjoy this one as well. A lot of similarities between those two works. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I will keep an eye out for a physical copy, obviously. Um, but it wasn't my absolute favorite. And I have to say, I don't think the art on the front cover actually does the art inside as much justice. You kind of have to look really closely at the design of the characters, and I think that the interior art is just a little bit better. But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. Not my favorite, but one that I think I'm obviously gonna have to try and see if I can pick up. So I read King in Limbo, volume one of the omnibus. So it was volumes one and two, and this is by Ai Tanaka, also a Kodansha title. So this, wow. So I thought when I started reading this that this was something that was fairly new and a response to the pandemic because it involved um a sort of epidemic and um uh, a lot of futuristic things. So like a pandemic or an epidemic in the future had come to an end, and unfortunately it seemed like it was starting up again. Um, and so it's the start stage of another pandemic of this very deadly disease. And when I got to the end, I saw when it was originally published and it was 2017, and I was like, oh wow, wow. Wow. This was this was really interesting. I found it really it's the art style is not to my taste, but I really enjoyed the actual story. The story itself is really fascinating. So the kind of disease or illness is a sleeping disease, which is also fascinating because this was something that um we actually have in recent history. I don't know if anyone's ever watched the Robin Williams movie, Awakenings, I think it's called, when people who had sleeping disease, it started, I think, between the First and Second World Wars, or maybe it came after the Second World War. This was a kind of illness that people couldn't really identify, they couldn't understand. They studied it, and a lot of the people, um, they ended up in institutions, which is where the Robin Williams character, who is a real person, started doing experimentations on these long forgotten people in the 70s, and had actually, for a short brief time, awakened them from their sleeping state. And unfortunately, they regressed back into it, which is really sad. It's a great movie. You should check it out. But this is a type of sleeping disease. That's what the main thing is. And we follow a military person who has unfortunately just lost some limbs and is being asked to go into a sort of shady, another shady organization, a military slash medical organization that's doing research on this disease that has just started to come out again. And he gets paired up with someone who was very good um, in the first outbreak, and they have to kind of work together. And it's a lot of it's a really great one over the two volumes because it is an omnibus. It's a lot of story. It's quite dense. There's a lot of things going on. It was so quick and so fast and so easy to read. It was a really fascinating one. I'd really like to carry on reading this one because it was very, very interesting. Anyway, I'm Falling in Love with You by Haruka Mitsui is about Mitsuo. Is that the name of the female character? Does it even matter? Um, I this one took me forever to actually read, even though, like, what happens? Nothing happens. It follows a girl who's, obviously not attractive because she wears glasses. Ugh. Um, It like opens with her birthday, and then she meets up with her childhood friends who all live in the same sort of apartment complexy type area. All four of them, the boys, are like best pals with her, and they're all, it's kind of a bit annoying. They're all kind of stereotypical hotties and good at certain things, different things. So they're all like, there's the jock and there's the smart one and there's the, the model. And I was bored. And she has a crush on some other guy who's like a senpai, and she kind of confesses um and gets rejected. And then on her birthday, and then one of the boys kind of confesses to her very quickly afterwards. Um, and and not much else happened. I didn't really find myself uh connecting with the female character at all. She was very much like, not like other girls, pick me type. He really did not take to her. The other characters, the male characters, are infinitely more interesting. 100%. Did not really find anything but it was very much that whole we're going for reverse harem thing, which is not cool. I just, no, not for me. Um, but it was like, I'm sure perfectly palatable and lovely to other people. I'm sure if it's your yum, I'm not gonna yuck it, but it's just not for me. But yeah, I did want to give it a go because I have read a few shoujo from Kodansha that I'm like, this was really fun. I'd like to read more of, and this was not, unfortunately, it. Um, but yeah, it was what it was. But it did take me ages. It kind of like put me in a little bit of a slump because I kept trying to read it and finish it, and I'm like, it's only a few more pages. Come on, I just wasn't really feeling it. So yeah, it's not my personal taste and not my favorite. Certainly not my favorite shoujo from Kodansha that I have been able to read. Yeah, the only interesting thing I do want to say is it was set during COVID, which does date it quite a bit, but also I do find it quite interesting. That was the most interesting thing about it, was how it addressed it. It actually brought it up. It didn't just uh like pretend that that's just didn't happen. It was like very much set during 2020, 2021, when things were cancelled. And so the disappointment of children at high school not being able to take part in things because they just weren't happening because they just couldn't, was interesting. But yeah, that was about it. That was the only thing. I don't know if that's going to play a big part later on, but yeah, that was about the only interesting thing I have to say about this one. Now, I also read 3 Seconds After Our Eyes Meet by Rancha, which is another Yuzu Media Do International one. And this is Rancha's debut series about university life. The head organizer of a student union events kind of group, President Huashuan, is that how you pronounce it? Works hard to organize everything and everyone around him. He also works hard on maintaining his perfect nice guy image. However, his underclassman, Shunwen, has been able to see through him and his fake smile. And the two can't maintain eye contact for more than 3 seconds. The two still have to work together as part of the student union group that they're in, and in doing so, get to know each other better, of course. This was a slow romance, and it was sweet at times, and it was frustrating at others. Ultimately, I do think it was a lovely conclusion. I especially like that one of the first images of the manga was actually the ending of the story that I accidentally realized when I came back afterwards, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna check a few things, and I went back to the beginning, and then when I looked at the first image, I was like, oh, hold on, like I literally just saw that. So that was really interesting. So yeah, 3 seconds after our eyes met, um, is okay. I don't think it's the best, but I like the fact that they had what I assume is Chinese or Taiwanese, I'm not sure, names. Because the other media doll ones have been given anglicized names, but I think that originally they might not have had those names. So I like that it was culturally appropriate and that they kept those names. So yeah, that was it was a cute one. It was it was definitely, there was bits of it that I really liked, and yeah, bits of it that were frustrating. So it was an interesting one. It was different to what I had expected it to be, and I think that was actually a good thing. So in Tied to You, art by Watt and original story by Chelius, soulmates and the red string of fate idea are real. And Woo Seo is in love with Ji Suk, but fated to be with someone else. This is from Easy Press and is an original webcomic series. This is, I think you can now get, or at least it's being going to be published in Singapore, the original like light novel version. And I do think I would like to try and see if I can get a copy of it. It's not available outside, but you can get it from Singapore. So I think you need to use it's like proxy buyers. But this is not the prose version. This is the webcomic version. The Red String of Fate has always been an interesting concept explored in romance stories, and this is a particularly interesting spin on it. So the concept explored is that when someone of adult age comes into physical contact with their soulmate, they get a fever, and then their ring is formed on their finger, which is like the whole red string of fate thing. From then on, the presence of their soulmate is necessary to get a good night's sleep, and without them, they can't fall asleep. So this seems like a sort of fun and ridiculous premise. And these first 16 chapters are full of like shocking plot twists that hint towards it getting really messy later on. Wu Seo seems like a sweet university student caught up in a difficult situation. It's full of emotions and very much possible family drama. I'm very invested in reading more of this story, and I'm excited because this is Easy Press and it is supposed to be, a webcomic. And I haven't read this in webcomic form previously, so I'm kind of excited about this one. Yeah, it's Tied to You, which it does make me want to go out and just read the webcomic. So I also read My Noisy Roommate, The Roof Over My Head Comes with Monsters and a Hottie, Volume 1. This is by Kaho Ozaki and is, I think, a Kodansha? Yeah, it's a Kodansha title. This kind of has shades of, what is it? The Yokai Apartment. And also very much so The Night Beyond the Tricorner. Is it just me? Was it just me? It felt very much like that. We follow someone who is a bit down on their luck, Osuke, who is looking for somewhere to rent very, very cheaply. He wants to strike out on his own and be independent. We don't know exactly why that is, but he ends up getting kind of approached by a very suspicious gentleman who is like, hey, we've got a place for you to stay, and it'll only cost you that, and isn't this a great apartment? And he's like, okay, the only thing is you need to share with this haughty guy who doesn't really interact with him very much. It turns out that the place is haunted, of course, and he is a very open soul, and so he's kind of like a perfect conduit, something that ghosts and spirits and yokai and ayakashi and all of those kinds of things would find very attractive because he's so open. And it turns out that the person he's sharing with is kind of the opposite, because he's kind of someone who can deal with the ghosts and spirits, and yeah, it's kind of very much like the two of them have to pair up, and they work really well together. They're very compatible. They don't necessarily always see eye to eye. They definitely have some backstories that we're not aware of yet in this first volume, but I did really enjoy it. The art style is very nice, and I do enjoy folklore and supernatural and things like that. So this was kind of very similar. I mean, I absolutely love Night Beyond the Tricorn Winter, of course. But this one was like a nice, easy, more relaxed sort of one. Doesn't have the same simmering sexual tension, I would have said, but there were some cute hand holding moments. So yeah, I would definitely look out for this one, and I'm gonna look out for the next volumes as well. This is only volume 1, so yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out more about this. I'll have to get a physical copy when I can. Okay. So I don't know about this. I don't think I've got it right. I think there's a few places where it's not, because this does not fit, or there's some pieces in here. Um, I think I've got something wrong somewhere, but I don't know where exactly. So I think um, doing this uh, maybe tomorrow with fresh eyes, I'll come in, and also getting some of this done will help me to figure out where I've got it wrong, because there's a piece but it doesn't fit, so I must be wrong somewhere. And I think it's this one is particularly bad because there's a little piece, I don't know if you can see, um and that looks like a bee's wing. So I'm looking at my bees and thinking I've got my bees wrong. And I don't know where I might have my bees wrong. But that looks like a bee's wing to me. So we shall see. I'll start back tomorrow, do some more of this. Yeah, I really want to carry on, but I'm gonna carry on tomorrow, I think, with better light. So I had a look and I counted all of the different numbers. So I noticed that there was one too many. So it did actually connect here, and that this was 20 along here, and this was only 18, and I was like, oh, and I have one piece that's 19, which means that the bee is supposed to be over here. This little bee, this little bee at the edge there is supposed to be there, and I knew that there seemed to be a bee missing because that was a bee wing. So there's a bee missing. So I'm just gonna try and find it because I must have missed it. Which is not bad, because sometimes that happens when you go through it. You do your first pass and you put everything away, and then you're like, oh, have I got everything? Maybe not. So hopefully, fingers crossed, there is a bee in here. That should be a side piece. My side piece bee. So I'm gonna have a wee look, but we'll catch back tomorrow. Hopefully I will have gone through this and found another bee for that little space, because that's gonna be really annoying if it turns out that there are pieces missing, considering someone has apparently checked this. But that's what happens whenever I buy a jigsaw from a charity shop or secondhand. I'm always like, I bet there's pieces missing, and then it turns out there's not. It's just you get really frustrated because you can't see what's right in front of you. So I'm going to go through this again and try and find bees, and maybe make a pile of bees, and hopefully that's a side piece. So yeah, I'll check in tomorrow. Okay, honestly, this is my last little check-in for the day. I found it! I found my bee! I found my bee. There we go. He fits perfectly. She? Most likely a she, to be fair. Most bees are female, aren't they? So yeah, I started while I was searching for my bee, I was putting little piles in. So I might continue with this and make piles for tomorrow, just because I like to be organized and think about what I'm going to have for my dinner. So we'll check in tomorrow, and maybe there'll be some piles instead. So good morning or early afternoon. The sun's back out, so I've got lovely light. What I've done, I went through everything and I've made 2 piles that I'm going to focus on just now. These are ones that have letters on, so I know that they're going to be the names, and these ones have bees on them, and this one is very special. It has letters and bees. So these are the 2 that I'm gonna, and then these are the rest, which I feel like this is a good system because I can see all the different colors and I'll be able to group them together, that kind of thing. So yeah, and I've got coffee, and I went to the shops, but not too far, and we used to have a wee corner shop, and now it's been taken over by Morrison's, so I've got a sandwich. So yeah, let's start with this one first. I think this is gonna be good. So I'm gonna have a wee look at this one first and try and see if I can get the names and stuff done. And while I'm doing this, I can talk about my ultramarine sky. I actually have a physical copy of Nagisa Furia's latest work from Kodansha. So yeah, I did get a digital copy, but I have already purchased a physical. This was late 2023 when it came out. So yeah, quite a good one. I'll stick it on the stack of bees. So yeah, it's a story of childhood, not exactly childhood friends, but junior high school, middle school friends, who have been inseparable. They've been in the same class since the first day of middle school, and this is the 3rd year of senior high school, and they've been separated. So it's kind of a bit of a strange feeling for them to be different classes and having to be separated from each other. And in that, they are becoming more aware or I would say one of them's already aware, or has become aware of their feelings, and the other one is becoming more aware of it. It's just very much Nagisa Furuya. It's very much her kind of light, summery, lavender, light and summery kind of story. It's very much the kind of thing that I really enjoy. Kind of low angst, but still emotional. And yeah, there was a couple of moments in there I was like, oh. So yeah, I very much enjoyed reading this one, and actually the fact that I have a physical copy of it now, I'm really happy about as well. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's a good one. So yeah, I think I've got them all laid out nicely so I can see them. So yeah, let's get a little bit more of these done. And while I'm doing that, I can hopefully talk to you about some other things that I read that I don't have physical copies of. So I also read Turns Out My Online Friend is My Real Life Boss, Volume 1 by In Mura, which could be anything really, but usually is like Nakamura, but In Mura. This is also, of course, a Kodansha Comics title. This is quite a long one. It's like over 300 pages, so I don't know if this is what would be classed as like an omnibus, but it's something that was originally online anyway. So we follow Hashimoto, who is working very hard, but maybe not getting very far in his workplace. But his incredibly gorgeous boss is kind of a bit of a stickler for things, and is giving him feedback which he's not really appreciating, and he's going home and playing his online game where he has a friend called Uma who is always lending him an ear and listening to him and being very sympathetic and trying to help him as well. So he, of course, doesn't know that Uma, his online friend and his gaming partner, is actually his real life boss. And it's just that great premise of when you're communicating with someone outside of your life in a way that is anonymous, and yet they are someone you actually know in real life. And that's something that just is in a lot of things. So I think You've Got Mail, which was originally Shop Around the Corner, like one of those things. So any type of communication with someone, it's been used a lot as a sort of trope. I don't know what it's called, like anonymous lover, because I don't know what that trope would be, the anonymous love of your life, who's actually someone you know in real life. Like, what is the distilled genre topic name for that? Because that's what this is, and of course it's great because it's a great premise, and I really did enjoy it. I loved all of the gameplay on the computer, and I loved the other characters that we get to know. I love the designs of the characters. It's very funny. It's quite quick that they find out that they actually know each other in real life. It doesn't take too long. I think they could have dragged that out and made it even more comedic. That could have been something that kept on going for a long time, but it would have gotten old. So I think the fact that they developed it so that they knew each other and could actually have a relationship, and it does develop quite quickly. It's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. This is one that I've seen around. It's been available digitally for quite some time, so the fact that it's going to get print is really good. And I will be obviously adding it to my shopping list as well. I also got to read volume 1 of Gazing at the Star Next Door by Amitsu, which follows Subaru and Chiaki, and I didn't think I would like it. I know it's got a lot of people really excited, a lot of people have been really enjoying it. I know there's a lot more volumes out. It's quite a popular one, but I was thinking, oh, I'm probably not going to enjoy it, and especially when I read the synopsis, that it's basically about a girl whose childhood friend becomes a an idol or a talent, modeling and then acting. They're still in high school, and she kind of feeds him and wakes him up and looks after him and takes care of him. And I was just like, it's probably not going to be for me. That's really good. A really, really sweet, cute story. Obviously it's that very much like overly cute main female character, but it's the downtime that I like so much. It's when she's shopping, it's when she's doing her part-time job, it's when she's brushing her teeth. It's all of those moments that I really like her as a character. And yeah, he's really cute and funny and sweet as well. Subaru, he's a great male lead. And the two of them together are just so supportive of his career. It's really cute to see. So yeah, I did enjoy volume 1, and if I get the opportunity to read volume 2, I certainly will take it and see what else happens between them. So I also read volume 1 of Gachi Akuta. Is that how you pronounce it? I do not know. This is a kind of sci-fi dystopian land kind of thing. It's all about the accumulation of rubbish and the division of society and the imbuement of a soul into objects used. So this is something that I really like. One of my absolute favorite episodes of Natsume Yujincho. I'm assuming it's in the manga because I haven't actually read the manga. But it's when there's a little teacup that's got a chip in it, and it's got a special soul attached to it because it becomes a yokai because it's being used and loved and it's being cared for, even though it's really old and it's got chips in it. And it becomes this yokai that runs around the house at night time, and it attaches itself to a family or a group of people, and it gives its soul, it gives its life for the protection of the people who live in that house. And that's what happens in one episode of Natsume Yujincho. And I sobbed like a baby at the end of that episode. So that idea of things, objects, after being used and loved and cared for, having been imbued with a soul, I do understand from previous Japanese like stories and things like that. So yeah, this is something that Japanese people definitely believe. They're very much into like recycling, reusing, that kind of thing. And so I really like that this is a sci-fi dystopian story, but with this same sort of traditional Japanese viewpoint of objects in the world. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. We're following a boy, Rudo, I think his name is. He unfortunately gets thrown from what is a very dystopian kind of number 6-esque type place into a pit, and it turns out that the pit is actually just like the opening into another world where all of the trash is being dumped, and he now has to navigate this new world. And yes, he has powers. It's kind of very shonen-y, and the art style is very dynamic, and I kind of enjoyed it. I liked it more than I thought I would, and it was actually quite a fast read. So I also read She's My Knight by Saiso, which is like a short comedy based manga, following someone who has a crush on a girl, but the girl is taller and cooler and more charming and prince-like, and he's very good looking, but he is very much more of a heroine from a shoujo manga. As usual, I enjoyed the side characters more. They were really funny. What was it? Nikaido, who is the teacher, the substitute teacher. He just seemed to just be there all the time, kind of stirring things up. But also, was it Miyoshi, who is his best friend, who is super cute and is more pretty than a girl. So yeah, it was kind of fun, kind of gender bending, high school based romance, which doesn't really go anywhere because the main character Tsundere and the main love interest is one of those oblivious types that doesn't realize when someone's like, I like you too. And to be fair, I have tried to read it. It took me 4 attempts, and every time it was like every month I would try and read this, and I would get halfway, sometimes more than halfway through, and just end up falling asleep. I don't know if I was just reading it at the wrong time that I was tired, but yeah, it wasn't like the most engaging. It was kind of repetitive in that way, and I think that's why I was finding it a little difficult to finally get it finished. So yeah, it was nice enough, but it's not something that I'm going to look for future volumes on or anything like that. It's not something that's a straight-ish. There's definitely some BL or gender bending comedy moments, which I did find fun, but yeah, it's not really something that I'm going to go out my way to try and get a copy of or read the next volumes of. I also got to read Past the Monster Meet Milady, Volume 1 by Kanata Hoshi. I don't know who the artist was. I'll have to have a look. But it's an interesting one. It's a foodie manga, but it's a fantasy foodie manga, which I've read a few of. And it's also a romance, I'm guessing. So there's a young woman, she is like her 3rd year on the marriage market. Her stepmother has declared that if she does not find herself a betrothed in the next year, she will be sent to a convent. So she's in the capital city trying to find herself a suitor of some kind. Her father has said even just an average Joe knight would do, even though he's an earl. So she's technically aristocracy, and she should be aiming for aristocracy of the same level. No one wants anything to do with her because she's someone who eats monster meat, which is in this fantasy world, not a lot of people do. And then all of a sudden a monster appears at this soiree, this sort of social gathering, and the Duke comes in and slaughters the monster and saves her life. And the two of them kind of fall in love, but in a very kind of sweet way. They just become friends, really, at first. He definitely is like, wow, she's gorgeous, but she's also like, wow, he's so dynamic and dashing, and so they definitely have the feels for each other, but they're also like very happy to chat because they both have absolutely terrible reputations, which kind of makes them perfect for each other. So that's kind of what happens. So she can extract the magic and toxins from monsters and make them palatable and delicious. And he is tasked on behalf of the king, as like the main monster killer. So he goes around killing monsters, and she goes around preparing and eating them. So it is pretty much a perfect match. I really enjoyed this first volume. It went by really quick, so I must have been enjoying it. So yeah, well, will they get engaged? Will they get married? I don't know, but I kind of want to read the rest of the story. They're super cute. What's their names? I can't. It's all of the silly fantasy names. I'm like the girl and the guy. That's about it. What's his name? Aristide or something? I don't know. And Mephis. I don't know. Two names anyway. They're cute characters, and they seem like they like each other, which is nice. I like it. It's good. So yeah, I kind of want to read the rest of the series, but I'll see. I don't know. It's one of those how will it go kind of thing. Anyway, it was good. I enjoyed it. So I also got to read Sayabito Swords of Destiny Volume 1 by Uta Isaki. And in this we follow Kuifa and Rivia. Is that how? I'm trying to remember the names of the two main characters. Two people, a girl and a guy, who travel around. They're government officials, and they work together as a team, trying to find Sayabito, which are humanoid swords, and their adults, who are their human counterparts that keep them and use them in war or in keeping the peace or for whatever reason. So they are part of this government initiative after a war to make sure that each sayabito, which is very rare, has an ado or is registered with the government, and they go around trying to find them. And it's like human stories. It's like episodic. They find them. They find out what the issue is, and then they move on to the next one. There are some twists and turns with the story, but none of them came out of left field for me. I was like, "Yep, can see this a mile away." um, it's not to say that it's not enjoyable. It is. The art style is very good. It's comedic. The chibis are very funny. It's a fun little story following these two individuals who are contracted to each other, Ado and Sayabito. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's not one that I'm like, oh, I need to read the next, because it's episodic. So at the end of an episode, you know, you're like, oh, great, and off they go traveling to the next assignment. So yeah, I think it would be a fine read, but not anything to like write home about. It's perfectly good little fantasy. The action sequences are good. Like I said, the art's good. So yeah, it was a nice enough read. Okay, so I've got a lot of these done now, which is pretty good, um, compared to the image. And then I've got these four here that have little bits. And I'm not entirely sure where they go yet, so I'm going to keep these aside. And there's a couple that I know, like strawberry. There should be something with a bit of green here, but I've obviously missed it and it's in here somewhere. But yeah, so I think I'm going to place them in here where roughly they are, and then have a little go at the bees and try and put some bees together as well. So here's what it looks like at the moment. I put the words in roughly where they're supposed to be, and I think I've got them all. And then these are the pieces that I know have some writing on. I'm sure that there are some more little bits here in all of this. But we're going to focus on the bees next. Focus on the bees. But yeah, I feel like I'm doing really well with this today. So here are some of my bees. I think I'll be able to try and slot some of them in. There's like a little bit up here. There's this one here, so I think I can maybe get. Does that seem like it might be? It is. So there we go. There's a bit of a bee here missing. So yeah, I think a little bit of bee here. It's time to start working on this lot as well now. My Lovesick Life as a 90s Otaku, Volume 1 by Nico Nicholson. was kind of what I expected it to be in some ways. It's very much a high school um quest for romance comedy. But it's got some interesting points because it's historical. I guess it's an historical romance because it's set in the 90s, which when you think about it is like 30 years ago. So it's also set in 2021 with the main character being at that point in time 42 years old and marveling at how easy it is to be otaku because of the change in perspective of society as a whole. Whereas back in 1995, 1996, that time period, when she was in high school, it was very, very different and it was very much a negative view of otaku. I think that view really persisted right through into the 2000s, the early 2000s, into even to the late 2000s. Because when I went to Japan, there was still half of society was accepting and half society was still seeing otaku as being something so negative. It was really interesting actually to read this because so many of the things being referenced are things that made it into mainstream Western anime manga culture, but at a later date than it actually came out. So it was very rare that you would get it, obviously at the same time. So yeah, most of these things came out or became popular at a later date. So around the time when I was a little bit older anyway. So yeah, it's kind of interesting looking at it from a generational perspective because I am an old lady. So I could be the character, but in the 19 like not in the I would have been around the same age in the 1990s as she was. So it's kind of fun to think about what my teenage life was like in the 90s. Um yeah, not so much in the anime manga sphere though, where I grew up. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see a lot of the cultural references that we now think of as otaku or from that time period, which is often referenced in anime, manga, dramas, and things like that. Yeah, it was really interesting. I would like to see if her and the class president what happens because it's so interesting to see the snippet of what her life was like. I kind of want to see more of her 42-year-old self. I want to know what happened. We know that she got divorced and she had a child, so she's a single mother, and that's really difficult. So I want more of her 42-year-old self than her 15, 16-year-old self, which just goes to show where my age is and what my view is. So yeah, it was an interesting one. I know it has mixed reviews. A lot of people don't didn't particularly gel with it, and I think that's maybe because I don't think this is aimed at um a general viewer or a general reader of manga. I think this is aimed at someone like me. I think this is specifically aimed at a generation of women. It's a very, very niche market for this, and I think I'm it. And yeah, I'm still like, it's not my favorite thing, but I'm very interested in what happened. What happened? Did she get with the president? Did she get with Yui, the correspondence kid, or did she marry someone else and then get divorced? And how did she end up where she is? I'm intrigued, very intrigued. But maybe not as much to go out of my way to pick it up as a physical volume. But yeah, it's got nostalgia vibes, a bit like Go For It Nakamura because of the art style and the cultural references and the fashion choices and all of the little mentions of certain things like pagers because that was that was a thing. So yeah, some of it was kind of fun just for the nostalgia's sake. So yeah, it was an interesting one. So I've done quite well getting my little pink ones done, so I'm going to put them in, I think, hopefully. Try and slot them in where they're supposed to be. I'm doing quite well with the colours. I think it's really useful that they're all let's see, I think this one goes like that. And then so I'm doing quite well. I've got all of like the major elements in, the words and most of the flowers that are quite um bright and colourful. So I've got most of those bits done. But I do have all my little bees here. So I'm going to try and see if I can slot them in wherever they're supposed to go. And then I might take a break because all the rest is the greenery and the white, and that's going to take a wee bit of time. I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have before the light goes. It's still quite bright, but it's not the brightest day now. It's gone all grey. So yeah, let's put the bees in, and then I think I might just take a wee bit of a break and we can finish it off tomorrow. But yeah, let's try and find where do the bees go? So it's nice to see some of the bees on there, and I'll try and see if I can slot in where the other bees are. Hmm. So other than a couple of little extra bits, these are all my bees. So I've got all the words and the flowers and the bees done. Um, that just leaves this huge pile of greenery and white that I kind of need to slot in. So I'm gonna have to be extra careful about the different kinds of greens. So yeah, I think this might be a job for tomorrow, although I might sort through them into little piles tonight just for fun while I listen to an audiobook or something. But yeah, I'm pretty happy about this. It's looking great. I actually really like it. Maybe all of these should be planted in my garden. That would be quite nice, wouldn't it? So I'll have to have a wee look out. Like an English country garden. Definitely some of them like mint and strawberries and some lavender and geranium. I think they are ones that I definitely would like to have in my garden. Fireweed just kind of happens anyway because that's considered a weed, but you can actually do a lot with it. So yeah, we'll check in tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have piles of different kinds of vegetation, which is always difficult because it might look like one kind when it's actually another. But I'll try and resist actually putting it back into in the slots where it's supposed to be. So hello, it's the next day. I've moved this down a little bit and I've got my greens all around here. I did have a look at this last night and think I could probably get quite a few pieces put in, but now coming back to it going, I don't know where my pieces are. But in terms of the puzzle, it's very nearly done. What's left is a lot of the greenery, so I just need to make sure that I'm getting the right kind of foliage in the right places. I do have a video exporting in the background, so hopefully that's not too noisy. But yeah, so we're just going to try and see if we can get this greenery done today. I'm going to do this for maybe about an hour. I've got an hour before I need to get ready and go to work again, so let's take some relaxing time and do this. I want to get it done. It looks pretty. I'm very proud of what I've got done so far. So yeah, I'm enjoying this process. I'm enjoying this. So let's get the rest of it done. So I finished, yay! I'm really happy. That means I've got all the pieces, which is good. And it was a nice one because I could divide it up into things like the edge first, and then the words, which was really helpful, and then specific colors of the different flowers. And then just filling in all of the green and white foliage. Just made this like a really systematic puzzle to do, and quite a straightforward and easy one. I really liked it, and I really like it because it's got flowers, and I quite enjoy different flowers and things like that. So maybe I'll need to look out some of these and plant them in my garden, because they all look really nice. I think it'd be really fun to have like a specific British flowers puzzle garden and just have them maybe in pots as well. It's quite nice to see fireweed here just because it doesn't get a lot of love, but you can do a lot of things with a fireweed. And it is a weed, so it grows everywhere, so it's something that is quite hardy as well. But yeah, I'm definitely wanting to plant some strawberries this year and some mint. I want to maybe plant some geraniums. I like having them in pots, and some lavender as well. I have some, but it's kind of died. It's been quite a while. So the calendula as well is something I'd like to grow. So yeah, there's quite a lot of very nice flowers here. I'm very happy that I was able to. What's this one here in the middle? Does it have a name? I was just wondering if it has a name. I don't think it is. Like that's poppy, hypericum, and this is geranium. This is lavender. I'm guessing this is. I don't know what these are. Viburnum? I don't know. Anyway, I'm very happy I was able to complete my puzzle. This is something I really enjoy, so I might look out for more. Sorry, there's a dog barking. More puzzles to do. But yeah, I've got some things to do for my next hobby try. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching to the end of this video and listening to me review some manga as well as just doing a relaxing puzzle. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was relaxing for you as well. I'm 365-801. I make videos about BL manga, yaoi, male romance, and all that good stuff. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and follow me on all the socials. Details in the description. Take care, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!